So yesterday I talked about digital ownership, right? So, the concept that all the digital assets, all the systems that you use, unless of course it's a rented service, but at least the administration rights to that platform that you own, source code and all that sort of stuff, you've got to control as much of this as possible. You can delegate rights to someone else to manage it on your behalf, but at the end of the day, you should be able to kick those people out. You should be able to rebuild your systems using that source code. You should have access to your content. It's your intellectual property. Make sure you secure that. The next thing I want to talk about is some things that we see quite regularly. And to be fair, it's not something recent. It's something that's been going on for about 30 years that I've been in the industry. It's around this concept of best practice, right? To hear it all the time. You see it all the time with tech providers. Or we're going to go and deliver a best practice based solution. Best practice based on what? Industry standard that there is no standard for, or it's the way that every other organization you've actually worked with happens to do it, or it happens to be the way that you feel is the right way to go and deliver this. All of the above are true, and all of the above are wrong. What we need to sort of understand is what that means by best practice. What things are being delivered on your behalf and decisions are being made on your behalf that are considered mandatory standard ways of doing this stuff. What other ways can this stuff be delivered? And is that best practice actually good for you and your business? Years ago, it used to be best practice to expire passwords, right? That was the security paradigm. It used to be the best practice, go and expire those passwords and recreate them every 90 days, right? New password every 90 days. It's security, right? We've moved on years ago, changed that to say, actually, don't expire the password, because all that people are doing is using the same crappy password they were using before, and they're just incrementing it by one. They're adding a number to the end of it. So to the point that for a lot of people, they would have their standard password that they use, and they could work out how long they have been at an organization simply by dividing the digit on the end of their password by 4, for example, if they're going every 90 days. And it's given them a rough estimate of how long they've been with that business. Hackers know this stuff. So we've come up with a better set of best practices. Make them complex passwords, make them unique, right? And then add in other factors to ensure that you're providing that authentication. There's authenticator apps or those SMS codes, multi-factor authentication. So that we've developed new best practices. And this is this thing that happens over and over again. We're continuously evolving. We're continuously improving. So if someone says they're going to deploy best practices, that's cool, but ask them what they mean by that and whether or not it's aligned with the latest best practices, where those best practices actually came from, what's the authority or what's the guide that's sort of, informing what those best practices are. And then ensure, or at least ask the question, are those practices being revised and updated to meet new threats, new requirements, new observations of what is considered best in industry or best in breed? It's not a fixed thing. It keeps changing. We have a couple of things that we do when we deliver our services for clients that we believe are best practices, but that's based on our experience, right? It's not necessarily an industry-wide standard. Yet, the way it's delivered in proposals is made to make you infer or believe that there is an industry-wide set of best practices. There are, but they're usually either out of date or not every service provider or every organization you engage with is actually going to follow them.